Welcome to this explainer. If you're trying to make sense of the digital landscape right now, you are in exactly the right place. We're looking at the second week of June 2026, a week that's undoubtedly going down in the history books as a massive innovation paradox. On one hand, we saw absolutely astronomical, record-shattering peaks in human achievement. Trillion-dollar explosions on Wall Street and the birth of truly autonomous edge AI. But on the exact same day, we saw the floor completely drop out from beneath us, revealing unprecedented, catastrophic vulnerabilities in our cyber infrastructure. So today, we're going to unpack exactly what happened and, more importantly, what it means for your digital readiness.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering the trillion-dollar tech boom, the AI paradigm shift, the cybersecurity earthquake, and finally, gaming's next chapter.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1, trillion-dollar tech boom.
$2.05 trillion. Yeah. In June 2026, SpaceX pulled off literally the largest initial public offering in human history. Originally, it was priced at a pretty conservative $135 a share, right? But the sheer demand, both institutional and retail, was just so insane that it forced trading halts and shot the closing price up to $161. To put that into perspective, we're talking about roughly the entire GDP of Canada generated in a single afternoon. It's wild. In just one day of public trading, SpaceX hit a market cap that took legacy aerospace companies half a century to even dream of. And in doing so, it cemented Elon Musk, who kept his dominant equity stake, as the very first verified trillionaire in civilization's history.
So why go public now? Well, the IPO was designed to raise $75 billion in fresh capital. This isn't just an IPO, it's basically humanity's ticket to an interplanetary economy. Look at the breakdown. 40% of this staggering liquidity fire hose is going straight to Gigasat. That's their incredibly ambitious plan to build orbital, AI-powered data centers. Then 35% goes to the final, super capital-intensive phases of the Starship fleet and Mars Base Alpha. The rest, that's funneling into Starlink Gen 4 and deep space plasma propulsion R&D. They needed a cash injection on a scale that only the public markets could sustain. And by getting it, they've accelerated the Mars timeline by a full decade.
But while SpaceX was busy, reshaping the skies, traditional Wall Street was radically rewriting the rules for crypto. Look at this fee compression. Morgan Stanley filed to launch Ethereum and Solana ETFs with an industry-disrupting 0.14% management fee. Contrast that with Grayscale's massive 2.5% fee. Huge difference. But it's not just about cheap fees. Morgan Stanley is actually baking in institutional-grade protocol staking. That means investors get the price appreciation plus the network yields. Add to that Franklin Templeton launching a new Bitcoin DRIP ETF, which automatically converts your traditional corporate stock dividends straight into Bitcoin exposure, and we are seeing the absolute integration of Wall Street in digital assets, a real game changer.
Moving right along to Section 2, the AI paradigm shift.
Now, what's really interesting here is this concept of native action awareness. Apple just unveiled its third-generation foundation models, AFM3. And this is not just another chatbot that spits out text from a prompt. The new Siri can actually semantically understand the exact visual context of whatever is on your screen. It can autonomously execute complex workflows across third-party apps, and get this, it does it without the app developers needing to write a single line of integration code or provide API hooks. You can literally just tell it to take a photo, slap on a specific filter, and send it to your family WhatsApp group, and it just visually navigates the UI and does it. This spells the absolute end of the manual search and tap era on smartphones. And how are they pulling this off? Through a brilliant dual architecture strategy. On one side, you've got the AFM3 Nano model. This executes 100% locally on your device. Zero internet required, and we're talking sub-50 millisecond latency. Super fast. On the flip side, for the heavy lifting, there's AFM3 Pro. This uses cryptographically sealed private cloud compute running on Apple Silicon servers. It's a perfect illustration of Apple's strategic pivot to edge processing. They're balancing a completely seamless, autonomous user experience with an ironclad guarantee of privacy. You're getting military-grade AI power, but your data never ever leaves your control.
All right, prepare yourself, because here comes the drop. Section 3, the cybersecurity earthquake.
Just let that quote sink in for a second. On the exact same day SpaceX hit $2 trillion, the U.S. federal government executed an entirely unprecedented intervention.
A coalition of security agencies served an emergency injunction to physically, forcibly shut down Anthropic's Claude 5 models. Why? Well, independent security researchers figured out how to jailbreak the models, weaponizing their advanced logical reasoning to autonomously generate completely undetectable polymorphic malware. I mean, the government literally classified these models as imminent cyber weapons and pulled the plug. This marks a sudden, massive shift from unrestricted AI development to strict, proactive government intervention.
And listen, this threat of AI in the wrong hands, it's not theoretical. Right this very minute, over 7,000 LangFlow, LangGraph, and LangChain servers are under active attack. These are popular low-code platforms devs use to build AI applications. Attackers are actively exploiting a critical 8.8 severity vulnerability to execute remote code on these servers. It's basically the digital equivalent of handing a hacker the master keys to your entire operation, exposing database access, API keys, user info, the whole shebang. So if you or your organization are using these AI development tools, you absolutely cannot wait. You must take these exact steps immediately to survive this remote code execution flaw. First, update to the latest patch versions right now. Then, scan your server logs for any suspicious activity over the last 72 hours. You gotta isolate those vulnerable servers from the public internet, completely rotate all of your API credentials, and drastically enhance your firewalls. Look, in the rush to adopt AI tools, speed simply cannot come at the expense of security.
This brilliantly highlights a much wider architectural problem we're seeing across the web. I mean, why do monolithic architectures like WordPress keep getting compromised, while custom serverless architectures stay completely secure? Think of WordPress like a giant apartment complex. The database, backend, and frontend are all co-located, and you're handing out master keys to strangers who build your plugins. If a hacker finds one unlocked window in one random plugin, boom, the whole complex is compromised. Contrast that with a custom Jamstack architecture, like what TakenGain uses. The database is totally isolated in a heavily fortified cloud layer. Zero third-party plugins. It's a bespoke titanium vault. Even if someone breaches the front end, there's absolutely no lateral movement to the database. In an era of AI-powered attackers, your architectural foundation is quite literally everything.
Which brings us to our final segment today. Section 4, Gaming's Next Chapter. Is Xbox divorcing Microsoft? I know, it sounds like an impossible question. But according to internal documents, Microsoft's board of directors is holding emergency closed-door sessions regarding the Xbox division. They're dealing with a catastrophic stagnation in Xbox Game Pass subscriber growth, and they're just failing to compete with the PlayStation 5 in hardware sales, and that's even after dropping $69 billion to acquire Activision Blizzard.
Microsoft is facing a really harsh economic truth right now. They are hyper-focused on cloud AI dominance, and the bleeding margins of AAA game development are becoming a massive, massive burden on their balance sheet. So they're currently weighing three paths. 1. A complete spin-off of Xbox into an independent, publicly traded corporation. 2. Restructuring it into an autonomous subsidiary with a segregated balance sheet. Or 3. Forging a massive joint venture, with rumors heavily pointing toward Tencent. Turns out, $69 billion doesn't buy you immunity from basic economics. The real profit for Microsoft is in software licensing and cloud gaming infrastructure, not selling subsidized hardware.
Let's look at how this builds into a broader theme across the industry, prioritizing long-term trust over short-term gains. Take CD Projekt Red. After that disastrous launch of Cyberpunk 2077, it took them years of grueling performance fixes, followed by the critically acclaimed Phantom Liberty expansion, just to begin rebuilding trust. Now, their co-CEO openly admits they haven't fully recovered, and they're pinning their hopes on The Witcher 4, which isn't even slated until 2027 or later. It's a stark reminder to the entire industry. Reputation takes years to build. It can be destroyed overnight by rushing a product, and it requires a grueling multi-year marathon of transparency to earn back.
Meanwhile, Sony is playing a different game, carefully restructuring its entire business model around AI and platform segmentation. To make sure PlayStation consoles stay relevant, those rich single-player narrative games will remain permanent PlayStation exclusives. However, live service multiplayer games will launch simultaneously on PlayStation and PC to maximize player populations and monetization. But the real secret weapon here is their R&D investment in generative AI development tools. By using AI for procedural environment generation and dynamic NPC dialogue, Sony is actively aiming to drastically slash the staggering $100 to $300 million costs of modern AAA game development.
So what does this all mean for us? We've seen Elon Musk build an orbital economy. Apple put autonomous AI right in your pocket, and the gaming industry fundamentally restructure itself to survive economic pressures. But on the flip side, we've seen the US government forcefully pull the plug on powerful AI to prevent catastrophic malware, while thousands of servers were compromised in the blink of an eye. The boundaries of innovation and security are moving faster than ever. So I'll leave you with this. As trillion-dollar booms and devastating cyber breaches happen in the exact same week, take a hard look at your own digital readiness. In a world of military-grade AI, is your infrastructure a bespoke vault, or is it a house of cards? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.